Happy Monday, peeps. We're going into our last set of stats notes here. Well, this week, I should say. This first one, and if you don't have your ch3pt2, you should try and find this. It would be definitely helpful to have this. It is also on Google Classroom, posted from obviously just before we left. So you can find it there as well. So what we're going to talk about here is, what if a data value doesn't fall right on a standard deviation? Well, we're going to use the z-score. So we're using some information from last week that talked about an IQ of 100 being average for teenagers. So 100 was the mean and the standard deviation was a score of 10.5. So we're using this information. If you remember, for z-score, we got to take the value minus the mean over the standard deviation, if you remember how we did that. Okay. What percent of teens have an IQ less than 105? Well, if you find the z-score, 105, the value minus the mean over the standard deviation, I get 5 over 10.5, which is 0.48, of course, just right around a half, which, if we look up on the table, if you remember how to do this, just as a reminder here, so 0.48 is 0.48, right there, 0.8, not 7, 8, and I've got 0.6844, okay, so 0.6844, which tells us 68.44%. If you remember, this means at or below that for percentiles, so less than 105 is 68.44%. Okay. What percent of teens have an IQ greater than 105? Well, we know what has less, right? That's this much. The whole thing is 100%, so just 100 minus that 68.44 gives us 31.56%. Also, if you remember, you could look at the z-score of negative 0.48 right there. 0.3156, just like we just said. Okay. What percent of teens have an IQ less than 93? Well, maybe take a second and try L. Pause the video. Just try L. See what you come up with. And if you can, see if you can figure out M. Okay. And then unpause it. Come back and check. So again, 93 minus 100 over 10.5 gives me negative 7 over 10.5, which I will tell you is negative 0.6 repeating, which, by the way, is negative 0.67, right? 666. This number would round that up to a 7. So I'd look up negative 0.67, get negative 0.67 right there, 0.2514, excuse me, 0.2514, which means 25.14%. Okay. And what percent of teens have an IQ between 93 and 105? Well, I already have all these scores, and if I had just this question and none of this work, I would just go find the z-score, find the percentiles, and just subtract them, which is exactly what I'm going to do. 68.44 minus 25, excuse me, 0.14, and that subtract real nice, 43.30%. Okay, so you would just find the two percentiles and subtract. That's going to show up on your homework for sure. Okay, down at the bottom here, really a lot of the same stuff. Use the table, the z-table, okay, and find how this works, and of course sketch it. So for negative 2.25, if you remember, negative 3 is like right here, so negative 2.25 is really like here, and it's just that little spot right there. That's all it is, which makes sense because if you look up negative 2.25, negative 2.25 is 0.0122, right? 0.0122, which is 1.22%. Makes sense because most of them are between 0 and 3, and 95% fall within 2 and negative 2. So 2.5 and 2.5, yeah, that makes sense. That would be a little less than that, right? What percent are then greater than that? Well, I would still have the mark at the same spot, but because it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to shade all of that, right? And from there, well, of course, I could look it up on my chart, or I could just go 100 minus 1.22, you get 98.78%. Okay. Let's see if you can maybe go do C and D. Pause it, come back, check your answers. So for greater than 1.77, I can kind of do the same thing I did up here. Find where it's less, and then go 100 minus that to get my answer. So 1.77, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, 1.77, somewhere right around in here. But now again, look at what it's saying, greater than, so that's everything up here. So let's find at or below 1.77 on here. 1.77 is 0.9616. So 96.16% would be below it. Of course, that's not 96% of the graph, so I would just go 100 minus that and get 3.84%. So what percent would be between negative 2.25, which we said is right here, and 1.7, which we said is like right here? Well, that would be all of this between there, which would just be 96.16 minus the 1.22. All these numbers that, of course, we were doing, right? And you get 94.94%. And it's really that easy, guys. That's all what today really is using the z-table and finding out those differences. So let's get on to the homework. The next 2 pages are your homework. I am going to start with this first one up here, and I'm going to kind of talk about the one at the bottom as well. Okay? So for this, it tells me the mean and the standard deviation right there. So that would go here first, just like it did on the last quiz if you took a look at that. What percent of games have a total score less than 60? Well, let's think about it. 50 is in the middle. Standard deviation of 15 means this is 65, 80, and 95. This would be 35, 20, and 5. What have less than 60? Well, that's going to be right about here, give or take, right? Our z-score will also tell us that, because if you think about that, that's going to be a z-score probably a little bit less than 1. Maybe 0.75-ish. I don't know. Let's go look. So draw and shade the curve, which we just did. Okay, less than 60. Make sure we shade to the less. Okay. The z-score is the value, in this case 60, minus the mean over the standard deviation. 10 over 15 is, well, that number again, 0.6 repeating, so 0.67. Okay, that's the z-score. Look up the z-score in the normal table. Cool. We've done this before, but we might as well. Just 0.67 is right there, right? Am I looking at it right? 0.7486, okay? So 0.7486 or 74.86%. Okay? And then what percent of games have total score of more than 60? Well, we found the percent that has less. So to find, again, the one that has more, we go 100 minus that. And I get 25.14%. Okay. When we did this before, it was a negative, and that was the value we got. So again, remember how those kind of counteract each other. They mirror each other. Okay. I'm going to have you guys do 3 and 4. Let's take a look maybe at 5 a little bit. I'm not going to finish it, but I do want to get it kind of started. First of all, same graph, right? 50. 65, 80, 95, just copying this from up above, 35, 20, and 5. Between 40 and 55 points. Now here's the thing, you didn't have to find 40 up here, you didn't have to find 55 up here, so we're going to have to actually do some work here. 40, right about here, right? 55, right about here, and we're trying to find just that little part right there, right? Remember, between one standard deviation is 68%. This looks to be pretty close to about half of that, right? Give or take. So you calculate, we just did A. We don't have to do that anymore. I just did A. Okay. You got to find the z-score for 40, which we know how to do. 40 minus 50 over 15. And you'll find that score. And then you'll look it up on the z-table and find that percent. For 55, you would do it as well. And then you would find that percent. And then it says, what must you do with these? Well, I'm not asking you to actually tell me what to do. I actually want you to do it. And hopefully you saw in the notes from earlier that you would just take this percent and subtract that percent from it. Get that answer, and there is your percent. Okay? And then there's another page where I'm not going to do any of it because I'd like you to just do it. And another example down at the bottom, kind of similar to that problem we just did. Okay? that's it for today. Trying to get it under 10. It's going to be a little over because I just want to talk for a second. Hopefully you're working through some of this stuff. This is it for today. It's not going to get a whole lot harder in a couple of days. I will post the solutions to this entire thing. I've already worked through them. Kind of see there. Hopefully you didn't see it too quick or pause it. But yeah, just give you an idea of how this works. Try it. You guys are awesome. I miss you. Love you. Have a great day.